The only people who don't want to disclose the truth are people with something to hide.
Sheriffs do not have the jurisdiction to walk into Washington, D.C. and arrest anybody. A sheriff's jurisdiction for arrest only lies within the county in which he and the state in which he is constitutionally elected.
Yeah, and that's why I kind of get worried of the scenario you've been dealing with, was all the stuff going on with him. And no matter what comes out, I'm thinking, well, it isn't going to do any good. Look at all the big, huge items, their ticket things that are against him, and that nothing's being done. How can one more thing make any difference?
Yeah. Are you talking about the Zullo thing, the Arpaio thing?
Yeah.
Well, you know, it's just because the one more thing is pretty big stuff. And if the media picks it up like I think they're going to, and when these conferences are brought forth, I think it's going to be big enough that that people, you know, that the people that need to do something will step up and do it. Well, we'll find out, Brad. We'll find out. But I mean, people need to know, regardless of what happens, regardless of who does something or who doesn't do anything, this information needs to come out. The people need to know that they have been vindicated. People that have been very concerned about who Obama is and about the legitimacy of his identifying documents. They need to know that they have been vindicated, and that's all going to happen pretty soon. Thank you so much, man.
I hope it
Thank
has
you.
some
Thank you, Brad.
Thank
you, Brad. Yeah. God bless you, man. Appreciate it. Okay. Well, folks, listen, we're going to take a brief time out. When we come back, we'll take more calls, but I am going to first give this insight and update on the Mike Zullo hit piece that was done out of CBS 5 in Phoenix. Most of you know about it, but if you don't, this is fascinating. So you hang on. We'll be right back after this timeout. Yeah, a lot of our listeners will know this because they also follow the P.P. Simmons News and Ministry Network. And they, of course, know about Mike Zullo and his connection to the cold case posse and Sheriff Joe Arpaio, Maricopa County Sheriff's Office, and the Obama fraud investigation been going on for years. Mike Zullo comes on our program from time to time and has over the last several years. Now, as a matter of fact, we're trying to line him up for next Friday. I'm hoping to have him on. If he can't make it next Friday, then we're hoping the Friday after, but sometime soon, and we're shooting for next Friday. I'm going to have Mike on for a good while, at least a 30-minute segment, and he will address what I'm getting ready to address, and you'll get to hear from him the latest on that, as well as where he is on this investigation, and you know, with this new political climate going on, I think the timing, and a lot of people have questioned Mike Zullo and Arpaio on the timing of their releases. A lot of it was driven by the information they were getting and the investigation they were doing, but also, I mean, think about it. I mean, you know, if God's hand is in this, I mean, you know, it could be that releasing these conferences now maybe the media will get it. Now maybe they'll understand. The American people are certainly ready for it. You know, maybe the proper law enforcement and Congress, maybe they will understand the seriousness of this, and now they see and they've heard the voice of the people. But let me just tell you, so sometime back, 3, 4, 5, 6 days ago, I don't remember now, it's been a week probably, on CBS Channel 5 out of Phoenix, Morgan Lowe was the reporter. He brought a guy on by the name of Brian Riley. They did a hit piece, about a 6 or 7 minute hit piece on Mike Zullo. This was very interesting to me. I think there's a twofold purpose in this hit piece. Number one, they know that these conferences are getting ready to come out. I think the Obama administration's terrified of it because Zullo and Arpaio have gotten into some deep, dark stuff. And I think they know it. So, you know, you want to try to discredit the message or the messenger, you know, before the message comes out. So Morgan Lowe, who's, you know, as radical and leftist as he can be, has Brian Riley on. Now, Brian Riley is a former member of the cold case posse, but he worked for him for about 8 weeks, and he was fired by Zullo. Okay, so that ought to tell you something. But I also think they were doing this to try to smoke out Mike Zullo. Mike has gone dark, if you've noticed. You know, he's just not doing a lot of interviews right now because it's getting close. It's getting very close. And I think they're trying to smoke him out. I think they think that he'll talk or I'll talk or somebody will spill the beans. But, you know, we're not going to. We're smarter than all that. But this hit piece was absolutely amazing. They really focused in on, with Saul Alinsky type tactics, focusing in on the fundraising efforts of the cold case posse, and really, you know, urging Mike Zullo to release the 990 form. And he has kept saying over and over again, no, I'm not going to release it because I have no legal obligation to release it. You see, he has documentation that they are exempt by the IRS and have been for 7 years. They don't have to release it. Now, can he release it? Sure. Are there any nefarious purposes why he has not released it yet? No. And he probably will release some information when it comes time. But the deal is the exemption comes because it's under the oversight of a law enforcement agency as they're conducting some criminal investigations. And Mike Zullo has explained to me the reason he's not released it is because the people that have been asking for it have been asking for nefarious purposes. They're wanting to know who the donors are. And of course, when you're running an investigation of this type, focusing on the White House, sure. Do you think Mike Zullo is going to release the information of who the donors are to this investigation? Do you think he's going to release that to the world if he doesn't have to? And the IRS has given him documentation saying you do not have to under this 990 form? Well, no. But of course, they went on and on and on about it, even though Morgan Lowe knew that they have an exemption. And he didn't mention it until the very last of the interview and just kind of mentioned it in passing. So, I mean, this was not a journalistic piece of investigation. It was a hit piece. It was journalism at its worst, in my humble opinion. And then there was a question about a $10,000 donation that was made to Mike Zullo. And, of course, they were insinuating that he basically stole it from the fund. But as Mike Zullo has explained, by the way, you can go to ppsimmonsblogspot.com, go about 5 or 6 articles down, and you can read a huge article about it with a huge statement from Mike Zullo about what it's all about. The $10,000 donation was not made to the cold case posse, but it was a private donation from a private individual who gave it to Mike Zullo personally with family knowledge, with his own knowledge, for very personal reasons, which Mike Zullo revealed to Morgan Lowe in an email before the hit piece interview, and Morgan Lowe never mentioned it in the interview. No, because it didn't fit his agenda. Well, Mike Zullo can tell this much better than I can, and there's so much more to it. It's very interesting, folks. It's coming down to the time, and the liberals know it. And so you got to attack the messenger to try to do something before the message comes out. It's so transparent, folks. They're running scared. Well, you're going to hear Mike Zullo talk about it personally probably next Friday. In the meantime, thank you for tuning in today. Aren't you glad you did? Freedom Friday. Carl Gallups. We'll be back next Friday. God bless you. God bless America.
The only people who don't want to disclose the truth are people with something to hide.